Hey, what's up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here. In today's video, we are doing another Market Watch episode. So over the last little while, we've had a couple of really big pieces of news happen. So on one hand, we finally know all of the archetypes that will be getting Link Monster support in Link Vrains Pack 3. Now, even though some of them aren't necessarily the best cards that we've seen, we have seen quite a bit of movement on the market as people react to their favorite archetypes getting new support. And on the other hand, we just got it announced that Needlefiber will be coming to the TCG in the new Duel Overload set that will be coming up in March of 2020. So we don't know too much about the set yet, but the big thing, Needlefiber is finally getting brought over to the TCG after like over 2 years of waiting. This news has had some pretty big effects on the market, with a whole bunch of different cards being bought out in the process. So yeah, today we are going to discuss a bunch of these changes so that you guys are as aware as possible when you are looking to buy, sell, or trade your cards. Let's get started. Okay, so the first card that we have here is Glowup Bulb. Specifically, we're looking at the Ultimate and Secret Rare versions which were bought out. So for Ultis, we're looking at a whopping $73, and Secrets you're looking for around $14 to $15. So obviously this card was bought out when Needlefiber was announced, which kind of makes sense because this is definitely one of the prime cards that you're gonna want to summon off of Needlefiber's effect, as it basically allows you to turn Needlefiber into like a Borrelsword Dragon or really any Link 4 monster. However, I do think personally that Needlefiber isn't going to be too strong when it does come out here. It's still going to be like a really good card, don't get me wrong, but not nearly as broken as it would have been if it came out 2 years ago. That's a topic for a different video. Now, I do also think that these buyouts are a huge overreaction to the card news. And personally, if I were holding on to any copies of either of these rarities of Glowup Bulb, I would do my best to sell them and just look into playing with either the common or ultra rare versions. If you really want to play a higher rarity, I would definitely consider selling them now and then buying them in a month or two after a lot of the hype has kind of settled down. Next up, another tuner that was bought out because of the Needlefiber news, we have Mecca Phantom Beast O-Lion. So this card was really good when Summon Sork was in the game, as when it leaves the field you get to summon a machine type token for Summon Sork to point to so that you could pull something like Jet Synchron out of the deck. However, without Summon Sork in the game anymore, this card is actually pretty underwhelming, and I think it's inferior to something like Glowup Bulb. Now, this hasn't stopped the card from being bought out. This card is a fairly old rare from Primal Origin that has never been reprinted, and the cheapest ones available online currently are like $9 to $10, which is crazy for something that's just a rare. Again, this is something that I would be selling, not only because it probably isn't going to be super viable when Needlefiber is released, but also because I think it's incredibly likely that we're going to see Mecca Phantom Beast O-Lion reprinted in either an OTS pack as a common or super, or in the Duel Overload set itself. I would definitely expect this card to settle back down to around $5 within a couple of weeks after a lot of the hype has died down. So now we're on to Artifact Durandal, specifically the Ultimate Rare, which is currently like a $10 card. So if you guys haven't seen the new Artifact Link monster, Artifact Dagda, it is really good, allowing you to set an artifact from your deck and then destroying it during your opponent's end phase, and then also summoning an artifact out of the graveyard if it's destroyed. Now, it is also generic, just requiring 2 monsters with different names in order to make it. Now, while the card does make artifacts better, I believe it makes them better just as an engine where you splash in copies of like Scythe or Moral Talk or Lancia, rather than promoting the play of an artifact deck. That being said, I don't believe that the Durandal buyout makes much sense, as there's very little reason to want or need to go into Durandal. Unless you're running like a dedicated artifact strategy. We are currently looking at $10 for the ulti, which is about double the price of what it's been at usually. If you guys have any copies of this, I would definitely be trying to move them now while the card is hyped up, before people realize that it won't really be seeing too much play. Another ulti that I believe people have kind of falsely hyped up is Booj enticed Asana. So Asana is the Booj Xyz monster that can attack all of your opponent's monsters as well as search or dump a Booj monster. Now before, I believe this card was actually pretty good in Booj, as it was the main thing that you summoned with Booj Incarnation. We did get a Booj Link monster, which does facilitate making this card a lot more easily, as it summons a monster from your hand and graveyard and then allows you to Xyz with them. I did see a Booj list on Lithium's channel, I think, where you can make Susanoo under Black Garden. and then OTK your opponent by giving them the tokens. Now, as interesting as I think the new Link monster is, I don't believe that it's enough to make Boojins a good deck. I do actually think that as far as Link monsters go, it could see some very niche play in another deck that aims to make rank 4s, in a combo, maybe in something like Lunalights. However, I don't think that Boojins are solid enough of a deck to really become viable just off this card alone. This is another card that has roughly doubled in price from $5 to $10, and it's definitely another card that I would be looking to move as soon as possible. So this is a weird one. We have seen the occasional Starfoil or Shatterfoil card get up there in terms of price, because for some cards that don't come holo, it is technically the highest rarity. We saw this, I think, with a couple of Goki cards. We saw Starfoil personal spoofing before it was a super, and even now we have something like Draconet. Well, the newest card we have to do this is Aria the Melodious Diva. Now, we just got a Melodious Link monster announced, which is actually quite good, summoning 2 Melodious monsters out of the deck. Now, this card can be ashed or veilered, so do be careful, but theoretically, it sets up the Melodious lock all by itself. Melodious have historically not been a very popular archetype, so a lot of the cards from the archetype aren't really high in terms of demand or rarity. That being said, this is now the most expensive card in the archetype, so if you happen to buy a lot of Star Pack Arc 5, go grab your stuff and dig out like a few Shatterfoil copies of this card, as they are now only available online for $6 a piece. That is, of course, if you can actually find someone who's looking to pick this card up. Next up, Masked Hero Acid is something that I feel like every time I look at it, I wonder why it hasn't been reprinted yet. This card only has the one printing in the premium collection tin from like 4 or 5 years ago. This is back when Volcasaurus came to the TCG. Now, with Elemental Hero Liquid Man coming to the TCG and Legendary Duelist Magical Heroes coming in January, as well as Sunriser allowing you to search Miracle Fusion to summon Absolute Zero, Acid has gotten a huge bump in terms of viability, and of course without a reprint, we've seen this card jump up in price to a $19 to $20 price point. Now, of course, I would be very cautious of holding onto this card, as I believe that there's like a 99% chance we see it reprinted within the next few months between sets like Duel Overload, Legendary Duelist 6, and then all of the OTS packs we're expecting to get. So if you are holding onto this card, just be careful. You should only need 1 copy, even if you are planning on playing heroes. So just to be on the safe side, I would definitely be moving your excess copies now. Okay, so this is a really weird one, but Dual Terminal Materia Rose Whip is apparently now a $5 card. So this card is a tuner, which means technically it can be brought out with Needlefiber, and it allows your opponent to only activate 1 spell or trap card per turn, which seems okay in theory, until you realize that it only has like 400 attack points and 1700 defense points. It's pretty weak, and if you pull this card out, you need another extender in order to continue comboing off with Needlefiber, or you're just gonna have to stop there. So yeah, I definitely don't think that this card is going to be viable by any means. It's just people trying to be cheesy and come up with something like cute or interesting. If you want to experiment with this card, you can grab super rare copies for something like $1, probably less. But yeah, if you guys do have any copies of this card, they are probably somewhere in your bulk. So they just might be worth you guys digging them out and trying to get some value out of them while you can. So here's one that you guys probably already know about, Ancient Gear Fusion. So a little while ago, we got an Ancient Gear Link monster announced, and I think it's okay. It searches for any Ancient Gear monster, which I guess is good. However, I think the fact that the archetype has gotten like any support at all is enough to trigger a price increase for Ancient Gear Fusion, as it is one of those really hard cards to pull from a Legendary Duelist set, and is therefore very easily susceptible to buyouts. So we are currently looking at $53 lowest for a single copy of the card on TCG Player. Now, when the Ancient Gear Link monster was first announced, we saw it as high as like $70, but the price has kind of settled back down now. I don't know when we're finally going to see a reprint of Ancient Gear Fusion, but personally, I have already sold all of my copies of this card quite a while ago, since I personally don't see too much appeal from the archetype. So yeah, if you guys actually have the card because you went out and you bought them to play the deck, you're probably going to be keeping them to play with anyways. However, if you are just holding onto them in your trade binder and you don't necessarily want to do anything with them, I would move them now while there is a catalyst that has caused the price to spike and has given people a reason to want to buy the card. And finally guys, we have TG Wonder Magician, another ultimate rare that has shot up in price recently. So Wonder Magician, I believe, is the ideal monster for Needlefiber to tag into, as it can pop a spell or trap card when it's summoned, it can synchro during your opponent's turn, or if your opponent destroys it, you get to draw a card. That is a lot of free utility in the event that Needlefiber gets hit by something like Effect Veiler or Infinite Impermanence during your turn, and you don't have an extender. Anyways, we are currently looking at $20 for an Ulti Unlimited copy or $25 for an Ulti First Ed copy. Now, in my opinion, this is a bit much to be paying for this card, as ideally, when you make Needlefiber, you're going to be linking it away and not just going into this card that often. Also, it is difficult to justify spending $20 on this version when you can very easily get a reprint Ultra from Battles of Legend for literally like 20 cents, or even a secret rare one for like $1. If you really want to play your max rarity deck, then like go ahead, but if not, like with a lot of cards that we discussed today, I would definitely recommend selling this card for the maximum value while you can. Alright guys, that is it for this video. So I'm thinking about it now, and there's one message that I really want to get across to all of you, and that is to sell cards into hype while you can. Like honestly, I understand that it's nice to play max rarity cards when you can. I do it too. Like, I love ultimate rares, I love secret rares, so if I have the chance to play cards in those rarities, I do. However, I try to play only those rarities if I know that the values are going to be pretty steady and maintain themselves. If I know that a card is hyped up at the moment for whatever reason, I am more than happy to sell the card and play a lower rarity version, because I know that I'll be able to buy the card back later at a much lower price and pocket the profits. But yeah, if you guys have stuck around this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed the discussion today. Please, as usual, let me know in the comments down below what else is going on the market that I may have missed in the video, or cards that you think I should be paying attention to. Of course, guys, do me a favor and thumbs up the video, and subscribe to MST.TV if you haven't already, to see more videos like this one, as well as other regular content from myself and Tombucks. And yeah, until next time, guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.